Alrighty, hello, my friends. It is Sunday. Sunday. For those of you who grew up in the New York metropolitan area, you'll remember those Sunday advertisements for the monster truck rallies. Welcome to Life Coaching. I'm Dr. Michelle Fanninsteel, coming to you live every day, noon Eastern, to talk about all the tools I have to manage my life and to thrive in this environment and in any environment that the world throws at me. And we have been doing life coaching. I think we have been doing it for 2 straight weeks now and doing it through the end of April, I decided. I think when I scheduled it, I was 30 days of life coaching, and it took me to some weird date in the middle of April, but we're going to do this all the way through the end of April. Okay, so I will be here for you every day at noon all the way through the end of April, and let's figure out where we are. If I need to extend it for another 4 weeks, then I will extend it for another 4 weeks. The tools of life coaching aren't going away, and they do make you feel better. I get tons of really good responses from these. I have lots of people contacting me about business things, which wasn't the intention of this. I mean, I suppose I did it on my business page for a reason, but it's here to make you feel better, okay? And when you feel better, feel like contacting me, talking about starting or scaling your business, you go right ahead. If you feel like these full to other people, no matter where you are, pass these along to other people. I've talked with veterinarians, I've talked with other Army folks, I've talked with friends and family members, and they say these are just so helpful. All right, so that's where we are, and that's where we stand. So today I want to talk about the most pernicious feeling that and it wasn't until my coach named this feeling that I was like, oh, this is what's going on, okay? So here's the deal, my friends. We have this feeling, okay? And if you've ever interacted with a toddler or a kid, you will be able to recognize this feeling, because I feel like I talk about this feeling with my kids all the time. All right? This is not a feeling you have probably heard before unless you've heard me talk about it. But the feeling is called over desire. Now, humans are wired for desire, wired for over desire, okay? Over desire comes from our thoughts, all right? And the biggest way that over desire pops into our brain is when a thought starts with I should. It should. Or a particularly fun one, you should. When we are trying to get the entire world to agree, you don't have to. Folks, it worked to get the entire world to change so that we wouldn't have to and be totally down with it. No, unfortunately, it doesn't. And it's way everybody else. So, over desire is a feeling, all right? It feels like an urge. You get this constricting sensation, all right? And it creates urges. Right? And so over desire, here's what I'm gonna show it to you in a water map or a water model, okay? And I'm gonna show you what this looks like. Over desire looks like I want a cookie. All right? And your action is to fixate, X-A-T, on whatever thing you think is going to solve your problem, okay? And when you turn and face the truth of your feelings, you've got an urge, all right? And you are always resisting a negative emotion, right? When you resist a negative emotion, you start building evidence that things should be other than they are. Right? And your result is you argue with reality. How do I know this? Because reality. What? All right. My ability to spell still hasn't improved. All right. And so what you think that you want is a cookie. What you think you want is to check your email one more time. What you think that you want is to go into Facebook one more time. Okay. And you may very well. Underlying it, you have this idea that things should be other than they are. Okay? Things you should be able to after a long day's work. You should be able to have a drink. Your partner should be doing X, Y, or Z. My kids should be in the bathroom when I ask them. When you're in should creates a lot of negative emotion. All right. We mask our negative emotion with urges. All right. And it all comes from this over desire. Okay. And especially when we talk about simple carbohydrates. Okay. And I'm going to go through this. We're going to talk about over desire as it is applicable to all different sorts of life situations this coming week. But when you experience this over desire, okay, and you don't recognize that what you're experiencing is over desire because it feels super intense. So here's what happens in your brain. That in your brain stem, all right, which vaguely looks like that, all right, so you have a brain stem, okay, in your brain stem, you have portions of your brain, all right, that generate your habitual thoughts. It takes almost no energy for this part for this part of your brain to create habitual thoughts. So almost none whatsoever. Okay. And the part of your brain where the emotions come up and the part of your brain where the thoughts come up are very close together, like literally very close together. Whereas your forebrain and your prefrontal cortex is comparatively way the hell out here, right? This part of your brain, lots of energy. All right? And what happens is, okay, is that it's way easier for these two things to talk to each other than for these two parts to talk to each other. This is easy. This is hard. Okay, literally your brain. Okay, all of your pre-planning, all of that good sort of stuff, all comes from your prefrontal cortex. All right, when you are doing something you don't want for TEX, when you are doing something you don't want to do and you're using emotional energy, your prefrontal cortex is telling your emotional regulatory center, your amygdala, don't like this and do it anyway. Okay? And that works great until you run out of energy in these neurons, like literally run out of glucose in these neurons, and the neurons are like, and I'm done. Right? And then what does your body want? A easy source of energy. And what is a quick and easy source of energy? Cookies! Alcohol! Right? And so, because they're like simple carbohydrates. And so what happens is that when we come to our life with emotional energy, we become very, very depleted. All right? And when we're in our lives, we're building evidence all right? That everything should be other than the way that it is. In order for us to cope with our worlds around us, we got to use a lot of emotional energy, right? And then all of a sudden, I want a cookie. Right? And it all comes from over desire, because what happens actually before you even eat that cookie, all right, is you come back up here, all right, and this part of your brain says, cookie. And it sends out a molecule called dopamine. And dopamine makes you feel good. Okay? And so before you have even consumed a cookie, before you have even taken a drink, before you have even like checked your email or gone onto Facebook and checked Facebook, your brain will already start to relax and feel. But here's the problem, is that you've got it that dopamine upregulates. So the more cookies you eat, the more times you give in to an urge, the more you're going to have to give in to that urge to get the same level of dopamine. Okay, because our cells will just put out more dopamine they get. The more dopamine receptors they put out, the more dopamine they have to take in for them to feel better, to like generate the feeling of feeling better. That's like literally the biochemistry of it. All right. And so when you're of over, recognize that as urges. All right, urges always come from over desire, as I diagrammed out over here. Right? We always have an urge because we're resisting a negative emotion. Over desire is a negative emotion. Okay, and we answer that negative emotion with an urge because we've been taught to do that. Our society teaches us instant gratification. Instant gratification feels really, really good. And like makes a lot of our society run. All right, and right now we are all noticing that when we are not in a place where we can go get our caramel macchiato and get instant gratification from the coffee shop, from the bar, from the restaurant, from going and spending our money, all of a sudden our brains are freaking out and saying something is terribly, terribly, terribly wrong. And what ends up because we can't fulfill this the way we normally fulfill it, the way we know, like you just go and buy the caramel macchiato and you get the hit of sugar and you spend the money. Like these two things are the same thing. Like you teach yourself the same thing about both sugar and spending. Okay? But what's happening is that right now what feels really, we are all dopamine receptors, okay? If you are not out there eating yourself out of house and home and drinking yourself silly, okay, or working yourself to exhaustion, okay, a lot of folks are talking to me about working themselves to exhaustion. What's happening is your brain is craving dopamine. It's craving a hit of dopamine so that it feels better because it has always relied on that pathway to feel better. And that doesn't change. It's just the level of dopamine that's required is really, really high. And if you can't get it, your brain feels terrible. And I mean terrible, like literally sick. All right? And what I liken this to is when we decide that we are going to get a handle on our over desire. Okay, it's like when we decide we're going to do anything. I was just recording my April video for my power group, and in April we talk about decision making and time management. And time when you make a decision, you're not going to want to do something. When you make a decision that, hey, I'm not going to eat myself out of house and home, I'm not going to do before 2 or after 6, or I had a ton of rules about what I so that I could create alcohol protocols, which I will dive more into this week. Um, but when I was doing that, I was creating the conditions for me to give myself the space to down regulate my dopamine. Okay? And when you down regulate your dopamine, it takes a lot of discomfort. Right? Now, I know I have a lot of veterinarians on this page. I know I have a lot of farmers and ranchers. Here's how I describe the discomfort. Okay? I call it going to the barn, right? I'm a horsey person. I was originally going to be a horse veterinarian. And I love the barn, and I love horses, and I gotta tell you, I want a horse more than almost anything in the entire world, and I don't have one yet because my want model, not aligned. So, and you have to go riding. And you go to the barn, or you walk, the lucky ones of you walk out your back door, right? And you go to the barn and you're standing in front of the barn, right? You stand in front of the barn and you decide you want to ride. Can you ride yet? Hell no. You've got to, so you've got to walk in, okay, and go to your mare's stall, and you take a look at her stall, and her stall is a hot mess, and she hasn't had breakfast yet, and she's taken all of her hay and she put it in her water because she likes her hay wet when she eats it, right? And there's manure everywhere, and it smells like pee, and you're like, oh my god, why did I want to do this, right? But you still want to go riding, and you have decided that you want to go riding, all right? And this is like you are deciding that you don't want the cookie. You're deciding you don't want the drink. You want to decide that you're shutting your computer off at 5:30. Whatever it is that you're deciding, you got to go to the barn with that decision, all right? Before you go riding, you're going to go grab your pick and the wheelbarrow, and you're going to wheelbarrow and open up the door and put your wheelbarrow down, and you're going to pick out her stall so that she's comfortable, because that's what we do. That's how we take care of our horses, right? You're going to reach your hand in to that cold ass water bucket. I don't care where you live, it's still cold. And you're going to take all that glop and you're going to put it back there because hay's expensive, right? And you're gonna clean up her stall, and then you're gonna take your wheelbarrow and you're gonna take it over to the manure spreader or to the compost pile or whatever you do with it, right? And then you're gonna put all that stuff away. Are you ready to ride yet? No. What do you got to do? You got to tack her up. What are you going to do before you tack her up? You got to groom her. So you go grab your grooming box, right? You slip a halter on a girl and you groom her. You take your curry comb, right? And you pick out her feet and you comb her mane or her tail and you comb her mane and you make sure her face is all clean, right? Nothing's all, there are no sores or lumps or bumps or all those sorts of things. So you gotta make sure your tack's all squared away, right? Maybe you take her out into the cross ties while you do that, and you tie her up, right? And then you put the saddle blanket on, you put the saddle pad on, you put your saddle on, make sure your stirrups are all squared away, and you're gonna put her bridle on, right? Are you ready to ride yet? No, because you haven't actually mounted the horse. All right, and so you're gonna walk her out of the barn and either walk her over to the mounting block or just hop up on her, depending on how you do it. Right? Are you ready to go for the ride yet? You're starting to get ready. You can walk now. Nobody goes gallops out of the barn because you are cold and your horse is cold. You're both gonna get hurt. You're gonna have really sore muscles. So you do some walking and trotting and working things out and remembering how everybody moves and getting your butt up under you and bringing your head in and remembering that your ears are supposed to be over your shoulders or supposed to be over your hips or supposed to be over your heels, right? Or if you ride Western, you So, like you get all of that stuff together and you guys remember how to talk to each other. And then you're ready to ride, right? And then you can take off. And you can go loping or trotting or tolting or whatever it is however it is that you ride. But I want you to think about all of the discomfort that you tolerated before you got on your horse so that you could go cantering off on your morning ride. You tolerated an epic amount of discomfort so that you could get the results that you want, right? When you're not creating the results that you want in your life, and you're uncomfortable anyway, it's probably because you're over desire for all sorts of short-term stuff. The cookies, the alcohol, the checking the email, the checking the Facebook, all of that sort of stuff. You're answering all of those short-term desires and you keep ramping up your dopamine and your dopamine receptors, right? And when you can't do that anymore and you're still in here and you're resisting negative, right? You're resisting negative desire cycle that this creates. These core negative emotions that you have, over desire masks those emotions, urge masks that over desire, but you still have those core negative emotions. Negative emotions like fear, right? Fear didn't go. When you eat that cookie, I assure you the fear doesn't go away. You feel better in the moment, and then in 30 minutes you're still going to be afraid. All right? And now you have two problems. You have calories from cookie and the shame and guilt associated with eating a cookie and to eat a cookie. Regulated dopamine, and you now have taught yourself that you can't have them back, and you just like compounded your problems versus just sitting with the discomfort. Sitting with the discomfort of having an urge and not answering it. Sitting with the discomfort of your core vulnerabilities, right? And one of the ways that you can sit with the discomfort of your core vulnerabilities, all right, there are lots of different ways that I do this. I do a lot of tapping, right? You can Google emotional freedom technique. Margaret Lynch is the coach I work with on tapping, right? It's transformed a lot of things around here. But so you do tapping, all right? You can put your hand on your heart and your hand on your belly, and it's like giving yourself a hug. And take deep breaths and just count and just allow those feelings to be there, okay? And you can learn how to do this when you're not at work, and then you give yourself a signal to do it at work. Like you just stand in a meeting. Like if I stood in a meeting with somebody like this and was just pressing very lightly right here on my solar plexus, difference, and I could be communicating to myself, hey, wow, I feel fear right here, and I am sitting here, I'm having a conversation, I'm talking to a camera, like I can generate fear right now, and I can put my hand right here. That allows you to metaphorically go into news that you're never going to create the results that you want unless you recognize these fear, shame, humiliation. What are some other? What are like what? And we don't double down on them by telling ourselves something's going really, really wrong when we have them, right? What you felt your fear? Nothing's going wrong here. You felt your anxiety and you said nothing's going wrong here. And you literally feel the sensation in your belly and you say, yep, I got that. I feel that sensation, because your sensation is not going to kill you. There are things that kill us right now, right? That's what a lot of us are worried about. But it isn't fear that's going to kill us. It isn't anxiety that's going to kill us. Sleeplessness, unless you have, congenital or familial that familial sleeplessness is also not going to kill you. Well, all right, what is it? Familial, malignant, and some. That's not your family. Sleeplessness isn't going to kill you. Fear isn't going to kill you. Discomfort isn't going to kill you. Humiliation, I promise, isn't going to kill you. Right? None of that kills us, but it feels like it does, and then we just double down on our problem. Because then we say, oh my God, and we probably more than we have the original core anxiety, or core vulnerability, all right? We are saying this should be other than it is, and when it should be other than it is, we're arguing with reality and we feel even worse. And then we have the fear of our own emotions clouding all of that. Who the hell wouldn't go eat a cookie in that scenario? Who wouldn't have a drink? Who wouldn't decide, now is the time to avoid everything entirely and just watch Netflix? I totally get it. But the question is who do you want to be and how do you want to be? And do you want to be in a place no matter you can do it, right? We're going into a time of mass unemployment, and I get that that's scary, but you know what? Unemployment happens to one person. When unemployment happens to you, it is not less scary than when unemployment numbers jump to 6% or double-digit percentages like they're predicting. Unemployment happens to you. And if everybody around you has a job and you're the one that doesn't have a job and you want a job, you feel worse than if unemployment is at 12%. Does misery love company? No, actually misery doesn't love company. Bad, no matter the circumstances, okay, when it is something happening to you, you don't understand the thought, feel, act cycle, okay, which is what this is all about. And you can pause. You can give your brain a chance to down-regulate these dopamine receptors, and you can feel like ass, and I promise it doesn't last forever. You can totally feel like ass and let these dopamine receptors come down. But then what happens is that when you have your when you've reached your goal, it takes a whole lot fewer dopamine receptors for you to feel really, really good. And that's amazing. That's amazing because all of a sudden, the subtle joys of life bring you a lot of joy. Yeah. And you feel better. And that's literally the trick to feeling better, is to let the subtle things let you feel better, because you're not constantly overriding it by giving in to your over desires. I talked a lot about food today, but over the course of the week, I am going to talk about this in like very, very specific circumstances so you can see how all of this stuff really works. We'll be tackling, I'm going to do the three big ones. Tuesday, Wednesday, because I know a lot of people are binge eating right now. Okay, and I'm going to walk you through how to stop overeating. Tuesday is going to be drinking. I know a lot of people there's like an article in today's New York Times about people not being able to get to meetings and things like that. This is not a substitute for AA. If you have alcoholism, you have a medically diagnosed problem, this is not for you. This is not if you're an addict. If you are somebody who has had thoughts of, I wish I could drink a little less, right? And on Wednesday, I'm going to be talking about overwork, okay? And then in the course of the rest of the week, I'm going to be talking about parenting relationships and spouse relationships. So those are the five things that we're going to cover this week. So join me every day at noon. These do get archived onto the YouTube channel. Oh, and I have a request. If you like what I'm doing, could you go subscribe to my YouTube channel? Because I think if I get 100 subscribers, I get to name my own channel. And wouldn't that be exciting? So and then I can just say, hey, go to the YouTube, go to Dirigo Food Safety YouTube channel, whatever. But anyway, so that's if you want to watch the others, that's what they're all archived on the YouTube channel. So shout out to Jessica Wellesley class of 20 for doing that work for me. All right, you're all beautiful. I love you, and I will see you tomorrow, noon Eastern, guys.